system unfolding. Military science fiction podcast. Untold stories every Wednesday. Military science fiction podcast. Discussion, interviews, reviews, and rants. Military science fiction podcast.
And we lost Josh.
I'm here. I'm coming.
I
We
know.
lost our two.
Sorry, I had to refill the essential.
A year later, and we have all of us in one place. So that's good news.
It's a miracle.
Welcome to the show. Today we're doing our 1-year retrospective because believe it or not, we have made it to a year on the Military Science Fiction Podcast.
Crazy.
I think it's actually a little bit longer because we recorded for almost 4 months, I think, before we started publishing, right?
Yeah, because we had, I
posting.
don't know, like 6 or 8 episodes in the can,
Yeah.
which we've emptied out
burned through.
over the last couple of years or last year.
Yeah. But we were just debating on whether time has flown or time has gone very slowly. For me, it's flown, and I can't believe that a year has already gone by.
It's
Time
fun for
flies
me
like an
because
arrow.
we started this podcast and I was working on Weaponized One, and now a year later we've had our anniversary for the podcast, and I'm still working on Weaponized One.
Hey, when it's done baking, it's going to be good. It's going to
You know
be
what they say, James? Time flies like an arrow. Fruit flies like a banana.
wah, wah, wah. Fruit flies fill my kitchen.
God,
and I'm all over
mute
the place.
his
It's making me
mic.
crazy.
We need like an emergency mute button for Rick that we can just beep.
I
Dad
sense a
joke incoming.
pun coming.
Yeah,
Dad
yeah,
joke incoming.
right.
The thing about fruit flies is I have a little little play shotgun that shoots salt, and so
Oh yeah, they what they call bug assault.
a bug assault. That thing is
Yeah.
like the best $40 I've ever spent because
I keep telling Beth I'm going to get one to get rid of the flies.
My
Get the
brother got
laser-
me one
get
for
the laser
Christmas a
pointer.
couple of years ago.
yeah, like
She's like, "Well, you get salt all over the place, and I'll have to clean it up."
she complains about that, but like I look for it and I can't find it, and I'm like, "Where's the salt?" You know, so I can kill bugs all I want.
There's a guy in China who invented a machine that's got a radar attached to an ultraviolet laser that zaps mosquitoes right out of the air.
I
Like
need
locks
that.
on with the radar, and then the laser goes off, and the mosquito explodes.
It only costs $300 million.
It's not for sale.
Worth it. Worth it.
And it's like the greatest case of show me my, take my money I've ever heard of, and the
Mhm.
dude doesn't sell it. Probably because you could kill somebody with it. Imagine, explode their eye or something.
I mean,
Might like that.
I think I've told you guys that I want a laser on a gimbal that I can tie to a camera that will shoot raccoons. I want that back in my chicken area.
Heck yes.
Yep. Okay, so we've been doing this a year. Does anybody have any thoughts about what they've enjoyed the most about doing the show?
Well, it's
Honestly-
kind of crazy because for the most part, we're here week in, week out. I think we've taken 2 breaks. I know there's not every episode has everybody involved, but for the most part, I think the majority of them we're all here. And it's weird how it's become part of my life because like the kids are all like, "Oh, Papa's got his podcast today," and so it's probably the longest I've done any kind of thing like this. I know Josh did Keystroke for years, but this is probably the longest I've been involved in something like this. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the being able to podcast regular again. I mean, we did 8 seasons, 8 years of Keystroke, and then I didn't do anything. I mean, I did shows here and there, but I didn't do anything regular until we got this show, and it's really fun to be back into that kind of routine. But really, I also like the just the way that we can all sit and have conversations, even if we've got a topic that we want to touch on. We all just like talking about mil sci-fi in general. So just being able to have like a mutual enjoyment of a very small subject is really interesting and cool for me, but also that and we've talked about this before, just kind of not concerned really, but just aware that the genre is small, and so the writer base is also small, and reaching a fan base that would enjoy what we put together. And I really, really appreciate the people that have subscribed to the show, come and hang out with us on Discord and chatted with us and even shared us around. I mean, Burn Enough is one of our very first super fans, I think, and he's great. And everybody that's come on the Discord and just kind of hung out is really amazing to me. And it's kind of the same thing, the same feeling I had when we started really growing Keystroke. Was just building that community around the idea of people who aren't necessarily experts, but kind of know what they're doing, and then bringing in people that share their experiences and share their thoughts on the thing, and that's really fun. The community aspect around the podcast is really really enjoyable for me. I love that, and I can't wait to see what this next year brings, season 2 or season 3 or whichever season we're on now.
Season 3, I think.
Um,
Yeah. We haven't
b-
been
We're in
anything specific about that.
2.85.
yes, I really love that. I really enjoy it.
I just like hanging out with you guys. But I mean, that's been really, I mean, what Jeff is saying, like also doing something consistently is something I've had a hard time with my life. And just like Josh was saying, like time disappears, and I wish I was as productive as Rick. Um,
Don't we
Agreed.
all?
you know,
Agreed.
um, but
Speaking
I,
of Rick, I just did ascending this morning, and it looks great, if I do say so myself.
You did what this morning?
Ascending?
Oh, ascending. Okay.
nice.
I thought you said you just did my ending.
No, ascending.
I mean, when I first wanted to start talking about this, I think there was some meme going around of like a writer that had submitted to an agent and they got some, I don't even know if the thing about even talking about this stuff is it's probably even fake, but they got some list back of things the agent did not want. And one of the things on that list was military science fiction. And I, it got me thinking about that. Like, what is out there just about this genre? Because to me, this genre is a lot deeper and, I mean, can offer a lot more than I think the stereotypes around it. And a lot of people just don't realize that. Like, just when people even think about talking to a veteran or somebody that thinks about the military in general, there's a lot more there than a lot of people think stereotypically. And it changes over time. Like, the experience of a veteran, even, from 5 years ago to 20 years ago, could be different, but there are also things that are very much the same. And the same thing with military science fiction. Like, it's a genre that has grown out of writers that had very direct experiences, with World War I, World War II, Vietnam, now global war and terror. And it's really interesting to see that involve and to be able to talk about that with people that I respect. It doesn't get a lot better than that, So I've,
Right.
I've really enjoyed that across the last year, and it is very cool to see the people that are also interested in this idea. So, Rick, you got to say what you've been liking.
I
Huh?
like Rick's beard.
Oh, thank you.
I think that's the one great outcome we have from this is Rick's beard.
Yeah. If we don't
It's
have
not.
any other
It's not from
success
this
with this,
show. It's from
come
my
on,
wife.
Rick.
It's from my wife.
Give us
She
the
made me.
beard. Come
Um.
on.
Anyway, I enjoy talking about this kind of stuff. I like talking about military science fiction and the topics and writing in general. And you know, this gives us an excuse to gab about it. It's something you do at conventions once a year, and the rest of the time you just sit there like on message boards or Facebook groups or whatever and type it out. But we get to talk sort of face to face every week about subjects we're interested in, and that's pretty cool.
One thing going into writing, I always heard was writing is a lonely job. And it is because you're by yourself. You're sometimes 8 hours a day. If you're Rick, it's 24 hours a day
Hmm.
on a laptop. There's no one to talk to. There's no one to, you
I
talk
talk
to
to
your
my dog.
family. Yeah. You talk to your family, you talk to your pets, maybe
I talk to
yourself.
myself a lot.
Yeah, I do that too. And so I'm an extrovert, so it's really difficult for me to go months and months without like, oh, I get to go to a con, and then you guys have seen me at a con. I'm like a Muppet on crack. I just can't sit still. I'm everywhere. because it's like my one opportunity to talk to people about things I love. And so this has been great for me in that respect because I get more of that sort of social interaction that I need talking about things that I love without, like boring my wife to death constantly about like what I'm writing, what
I
cool
wish
military
you'd I
technology.
wish you'd come to LibertyCon because um,
I wish I had
I had a great time, but people keep asking me, "Did you make any new connections? You meet anybody new?" And I'm like, "No, just hang out with the people I knew." And the reason that I didn't meet anybody new is because Jeff wasn't there to go start talking to cold talking to new
That's the
people.
thing. You always got to manifest your inner Jeff. Like, who's that
Yeah.
person? I'll go talk to them. You know?
See if we could meld Rick and me together, like all the writing, but all the
To
extra
buy all new
goodness,
clothes.
bam. Yeah, it's funny is Lisa and Rachel say that too when I'm at 20 books with them. They're like, "Oh, we need Jeff here to introduce all these people to us."
Yeah.
I like people. I like talking to people, and I like hearing their stories. I definitely like encouraging them. It's amazing to me that I have no college degree, but I'm still a very successful writer. And when I was growing up, all I heard was you can't do anything without a college degree. But because of things that I didn't understand at the time, like my ADHD and dyslexia, school was just not something I was good at. I was always much better at doing stuff hands-on than I was. But I loved telling stories. Loved it. I mean, that's why I ran D&D games for decades because that was my avenue to tell stories. So now that I'm a successful writer, I want to grab everybody. Like, do you want to be a writer? You can do it. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So it's
Well,
usually what I do at cons.
I'm not introverted, but like I'll talk to new people at cons, but a lot of those people are introverted. And
Right.
if they like don't if I say, "Hey, how you doing?" They're like, "Hi." That's it. I don't like, but Jeff will draw them out and I'm like, "Oh, he doesn't want to talk to me." That's the end of that conversation.
I have to make up an excuse in my mind. Like it's weird in a work situation, like where we all have some connection. I have no problem talking to people, but it's that we're in an elevator and I'm pretty sure that they are here for the convention, or even if they're not, we're in the same city or the same elevator. It's sometimes hard to do that. I've gotten better at it. I've actually learned some, very interesting tricks from Jeff for that. Like, do you like Star Trek or Star Wars? But there, it's
You like
definitely a
watching
skill to
gladiator movies.
exactly. But that's something that I think the show has given me too, is just a great opportunity to talk to people and talk about a thing that I, they say that you create the thing that like if you don't see something that you love, like go out and try and create it. Like just like writing, write the book that you wish you could read. And that's kind of what this has been for me. Like it's creating the thing that I wanted to see. And part of it too, like I think I told y'all this story. Like I love my local writers group, but I had submitted a story to them that had a platoon leader and the platoon sergeant that were it was basically about the platoon leader, but they're having a conversation in the first part of the story. And I was getting a lot of feedback on like, what is their relationship? Like, are they dating? Are they like, I don't understand this, platoon leader. And it just occurred to me that like with a certain kind of audience, like that's an implicit thing in the story, right? That's a trope. We don't need to explain how platoon leaders and platoon sergeants get along. And
Well,
so
I agree with you totally about
Were
creating
they dating?
they were not
creating the
dating.
kind of podcast that you want to listen to. That's one thing I've noticed about podcasts. I used to listen to all these writing podcasts, and there used to be a few specifically about writing science fiction, if not military science fiction, at least science fiction, or science fiction and fantasy. And it's like they all died. They all, just people stopped. And I'm like, how hard is it? It's not like you have to get together in a studio for 3 hours once a week or twice a week to make a podcast. It's you get on a Zoom or what's that other one, Josh, that
Like Teams or something, or oh yeah,
the
StreamYard.
StreamYard. You
StreamYard,
do
yeah.
that for an hour once a week. It's not that hard. Why do people stop doing it? It's don't I mean
Well,
I enjoy making this. Why would
I,
why would you not enjoy talking to your friends about stuff you want to do? And
so it's interesting. Uh, just coming from keystroke, and I know I talk about that a lot, but that's my only other experience, long-term experience with podcasting and watching podcasts in general. I think a lot of the ones you used to watch, I used to watch too. And what I noticed about the bigger ones, that were a lot bigger than Keystroke, is that and this was the problem that I faced in season 8, well, some of season 7 and season 8, and uh, was they were always upscaling.
Yeah,
And you upscale so far, and you upscale out of being a community into being a brand or
a business.
a business. And so you upscale, I used to watch, and this is not a dig on what they did, but I used to watch the self-publishing podcast all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
And they upscaled so big that they stopped doing the podcast and just started doing all these other things like roundtables for
Consulting and
$5,000 a
right.
seat and all of this
Courses,
stuff,
yeah.
courses. And a lot of, like, I used to watch the science fiction and fantasy podcast,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that upscaled to the six-figure author and everything else. It was always an upscale. And so when that happens, when you upscale like that, you get away from the market, you get away from the viewers that you originally were doing it for, which is just the average person. Because the average person is not a six-figure author. The average person can't spend $5,000 on a seat, right? And so you upscale yourself out of the
And
market.
you leave that market unserved.
Well, and that again, that was my problem with Keystroke, is I got locked into that upscale. And I was so focused on the upscale and watching the uh, subscriber count grow and or not grow, as the case may be, and got really frustrated by that. And after being away from it for a couple of years, and now like we're doing this, um, I realized if you're doing something like the Mill Sci-Fi podcast or Keystroke, the upscale doesn't matter because you're doing it for the reasons you're doing it for, and the community is what matters, not everything else. And so, like, from that aspect, I really wish we were still doing Keystroke, because that community was really, really tight knit. Like, and same thing with ours. Like, we don't do any outreach, we don't do any advertising for views or anything like that. It's all organic. It's just people that have found the show, or our viewers have shared the show. And so the community growth is slow in terms of like watching subscriber count or watching people on the Discord. And there's people that watch and listen to the show that aren't a part of any of that. Um, but
I think a problem with Keystroke is it's not a problem. I'm not saying it's a mistake, but I mean
what are
it
you trying to
was
say, Rick?
it was a very broad a
Yes.
broad market, a
Well,
broad area, and we are a very niche.
we're a niche. It
Uh,
was that joke we said in the beginning. We are a niche within a
yeah,
niche.
we're
Niche,
very
yeah.
Right.
focused.
And we
Right.
talked
And
about that.
if you have a broad thing like Keystroke,
Yeah.
then as you did, you had like 4 or 5 different shows,
Yeah.
and you had to be the one to organize all that, which must have been a pain in the butt on top of everything else you had to do.
It was challenging, but then again, we got all those shows, and I kept looking, what's the next thing we can do? What's the next thing we can do? How can we make it bigger? We did the Keystroke Coffee thing for a while, which was really fun and interesting, but that wasn't the point of Keystroke. And so it didn't punch the needle. It didn't do anything, right? Because we were selling coffee to authors that weren't in the market to buy coffee.
They just wanted
Right?
to
Like,
show that's
everybody
why-
drinks coffee, but not everybody can spend $16 on a bag of coffee. It's just that's not
Yeah.
a thing.
Life
And,
does.
and yeah,
I'd like to point out that while we don't do this for the money, and there was never any intention of like, let's do a podcast and get, rich and famous. If anybody wants to pay us $5,000 to sit down and pick our brain, we're more than happy to do that.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah. We are
Absolutely.
available. We are available for any well-funded person who wants to do that.
I will come to your house and sit down with you and have lunch. I'll make you lunch, and I make
Well,
I
and
make really good food.
I will let
When
you
we
play
talk
with my
about-
dog.
publishing, but actually it's a little hard sometimes because I think the amount of publishing experience that we have here, especially the current way that publishing works that makes money, there's a lot of experience here, and we actually I think try to steer things back to our subject a lot. But we talked
well,
about
especially in
the very
our
beginning.
market too, right? Mill Sci-Fi as a publishing genre, as a thing, really has its roots, or not its roots, but its mainstay right now in indie and hybrid publishing, because the traditional publishing doesn't do that. And
don't do
all
it.
of us here are really big in that industry, and so we can talk about the things that are great about it, and we have a lot of in-depth knowledge in why and how it works. Um, and maybe we should talk about that at some point, but it's what I really like about this podcast too is that a lot of people get famous and then have a podcast. Um, with
Hey, now.
Keystroke, well,
Hmm.
no, what I'm saying is, like, with Keystroke, Scott and I were nobodies, and we built a thing, and we're not nobodies, right? But nobody walks down the street and goes, "Have you ever read Josh Hayes's book?" Right?
Yeah. We're not nobodies, but we're not somebodies.
Right, exactly. And so, like, we're not growing readers based on who we are. We're growing viewers on a love of a particular thing. And I think that's really good for our show in particular, is that um, nobody's coming here going, what do they have to say about whatever? They're just coming for the community and the environment of, we love mill sci-fi and let's talk about it.
And that's the great thing too, is we all love male sci-fi, even though some of us are traders and going to write thrillers. But but the great thing about male sci-fi is like when you come to the podcast, and this is why it's so important. It's so funny. Growing a podcast is like growing your reader base. It is more important that you get organic readers and organic viewers of your podcast than anything else. And when people come to our podcast, there is no question what they're getting. It's
Yeah.
the military science fiction podcast. And I usually try to keep the titles like something really simple, or like this week's episode is blowing stuff up, or the episode that's coming out today.
That was really fun, by the way.
And so you kind of have to do the same thing with your books that you're writing. There can't be any question about what the reader is getting when they pick up a book. Otherwise, you're going to get the wrong readers. And you want the right readers. You want one right reader over 10 wrong ones. It doesn't matter that the 10 people bought it. You want the right one.
Right.
So it's kind of funny, like all that knowledge we have about publishing, how it fits to almost every other kind of business. You don't open a popsicle stand and call it bicycles. You
Reading
call
military
bicycles your
science fiction is
popsicle?
wrong. I don't want to be right.
Yeah.
You don't go to McDonald's and order a Whopper.
Oh no. So my son works at Chick-fil-A, and people come in and order Big Macs and Whoppers all the time. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a joke when I saw it in Ant-Man, when that guy is like, give me whatever's hot and fresh. He's like, it's Baskin Robbins, dude. My son says
Right.
that other people who come in and order chicken nuggets and like insist that they have Happy Meals, insist that they have Big Macs is ridiculous. And I'm just like,
People are stressed and don't read things. I mean, we are in the business
Is
of trying
pot
to get
legal
people to
in
read our
Utah?
stuff.
listen, Chick-fil-A is royalty here in Utah. It's kind of funny, the culture. The food is okay. The sauces are great and the service is
I love
great.
the sauces. I don't
people
like the
rolling through any
sandwiches, but I'll do the
drive-thru.
strips all day long.
You
And
know what I
Yeah.
love from Chick-fil-A, and I would always get in Florida, was in the winter they have this chicken tortilla soup.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, that's good. It's so funny talking about knowledge of publishing too, is I saw a friend of ours, or at least acquaintance. He's a friend. I don't want to say who because it's kind of it's kind of passé to say this, but he just announced his new book with a new publisher, and I saw the cover, and I'm like, seriously,
Hmm.
that's what they're doing for you?
I saw
mean,
the book you're talking about, and I had the exact same reaction.
I want to say something. I so badly want to say something because I'm just like, dude, I mean, they're not doing you any justice here. I get it. The trad pub covers don't sell books for them or whatever. At least that's what they think, because the bookstore buys the book. But I mean, that's
One
just
bookstore called Barnes and Noble, and that's it.
yeah, that's just the most awful
still
cover.
books
It's
a
not the most
million.
awful cover, but it's just like
I
does
know,
nothing for the book. Like if
Yeah.
I had
Right.
if they put a cover like that on my book, I'd be like, listen, you're gonna have to rework our contract here because you're taking it.
I think I want to go back to the idea of like always having to level up, because I I love all the folks that were on the science fiction and fantasy podcast, but it did feel like that rebranding to six figure author for me when a couple of the authors started having a hard time, and they weren't six figure authors. It was almost like they felt like they couldn't be on the show, and that wasn't
Yeah.
like, I still really enjoyed hearing their opinions, and
Yeah, I missed their show.
yeah, in fact, if they're
Me
listening to
too. I miss Joe. especially because I loved listening to Joe and Lindsay talk.
Yeah.
And it was Joe Lalo and Lindsay Broker,
Yep.
for those of you guys who don't know. Go
And
watch all of their
who was the other
episodes.
woman? Another woman was on there.
They kind of they got rid of Jeff at one point. There was a guy named Jeff on the show.
That was the original science fiction and
Yeah.
fantasy podcast. But some romance author came on there.
What
I
was
can't
her
remember her
name?
name.
She's
Yeah, I
at
can't remember.
Cantina. Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't remember your name. She's at Cantina though.
Mm.
But she came on, and she basically was why they kept doing the show because they.
She was really
I guess,
inspirational because her family had so many challenges.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't really want to keep doing the show, and then she came and got involved, and they did the show for another 2 years, I think, at that point. And now Lindsay is a machine. She's like Rick. She's just constantly releasing books, and every time I have, she's one of my
Andrea Pearson.
authors. Andrea Pearson, yeah.
That's right.
And so I see her constantly releasing, but they haven't done the podcast in forever. And Joe Lalo was like super nice guy. Rebecca emailed him once asking him a question, and he wrote her a dissertation in reply. So he was always super nice.
Yeah, I felt bad. I mean, yeah, so you're not making six figures from writing anymore. Well, people's lives ebb and flow,
Right.
You still love writing, you still want to talk about it. Why not just keep talking about it? Don't feel like you change the name of the show before you cancel it.
Well, and
That's
that's part of the thing that really frustrated me a couple of years ago about the indie space, in general, is that it all became about how much money you
Money.
can make.
right.
And it all became about, if you're not a six-figure author, you're not that good, and all of that. And so, you would go to cons and you'd have all these people that make a lot of money, but they're like, for me, I guess it's subjective. They're not very good writers.
Yeah, conversely,
Yeah.
if you're a six-figure writer, you're a god. But conversely, it was like if you're a six-figure writer, you're really good at business, but are you any good as a writer?
100%.
I watched
Yeah.
that play out in we can criticize this all we want. I'm still a member of SFWA and science. Um, but you see that play out quite a lot. Like folks would come into that community, which is still really, puts a lot of cachet in awards and publications and magazines and things like that. And people would come in and try to make the argument that like, well, I outsell all of those things by orders of magnitude. And people just won't like, well, sorry, you haven't,
It's Stratpub.
it's not the same.
Yeah.
Awards
It almost
are-
became like the two, like Trad Pub and Indie. Like
Mhm.
Trad Pub, you could make $500 on a book, but if you won the Hugo, you were like
Right.
the best author ever.
Yeah.
And in Indie, you if you didn't make a certain level of money, right, then it didn't matter anyway. And so there was a lot of us that were kind of stuck in the middle going, I really love writing. I don't really care about awards,
I love writing.
but I
I'm not
can
gonna
make
win
a
an award,
living.
and I can't make money, but I love it.
Well,
Well,
I
it's
tell
like
people when people ask me about like what it's like to write full time, like I tell the most thing that most people can relate to that I liken it to is selling real estate because you will put 3 months, 90 days to 6 months of work into something, make a big sale, have money, and then you got to do that all over again. And so it's this kind of like wave until you get to a point where you've got consistent sales on certain things, but those sales are still always declining in a certain way unless you put advertising on them. But it's always like that wave. And
Yeah.
so maybe you were a six-figure author 2 years ago, but this year isn't the same. And
Well, there's too much for me anyway. There's
Mhm.
way too much marketing involved in being a self-published indie author.
yeah,
If
to
I
make a
was
dent.
having
Yeah.
if I was having to do that still, I would not be a full-time author. Without Athon, I would not be a full-time author. I would have given it up. I would have still written. I still love writing and love science fiction, but I would not be trying to make a living off of it. Way back in like 2019, when I first wrote the first series for Athon, I was considering like I need to concentrate on maybe finding another job, pays more money.
I remember having that phone call with you.
Yeah,
we should probably mention Variant as well.
Oh,
We
and well, Variant pays me a lot of money, and I enjoy writing with Jeff Chaney, but it's not. They weren't the ones who kept me from.
right.
I started writing with Chaney after I'd already gotten success with Athon. Yeah.
I want to say this really quickly, and then I've got something I want to say about the podcast too. But a full-time indie author title kind of gets a bad rap currently, because again, it goes back to if you're not making six figures, you're not successful. When I went full time, my entire goal was to replace my income as a police officer, and that was it. And I told everybody I want to make 60 grand a year. That's it. That's all I need. And everybody was like, "Oh, you should aim for higher than that. You could make 100,000. You could make 200,000." Like, yeah, but I don't need that. I can write the books that I want to write and have a good living if I can make this amount of money. And so the six figure author thing was, if I ever reach that level, fantastic. But that's not ever my goal. My goal was to just make a
Well,
good living
the other thing
writing.
about that, Josh, is when people say six-figure author, are they talking gross or net? Because
Right.
if you're talking
Right.
gross, there's a lot of authors out there who claim to make $1 million to $3 million a year, but they don't mention that they spend
Yeah.
like a $500,000 or $1 million on marketing.
If you make 100 grand, but you're spending 70 grand to get there, you're not a six-figure author.
No.
You're a five-figure author. But what I want to say about our show in particular, and one of the things that I really enjoy about the conversations that we've had is that even though we all are like single-minded about our love for mill sci-fi, we come at it from different angles. And so the ability to talk about the same subject from different angles and different perspectives is really interesting, at least for me, because we can see, how do we approach a certain character development, or how do we approach the actual process of the writing for the genre. And again, I think James, it was you that said it really at the top of the show, but you're talking about a lot of people look at mill sci-fi and they don't see the intricacies of the genre, and they're just like, oh, they're just all gung-ho GIs that are, blazing guns and all of that. But there's more to military than just shooting
Blowing stuff
guns.
up.
And having those perspectives. I mean, Jeff was a radio guy. I was a nuke missile cop. From those two different perspectives, you get a wildly different view of the military, and to be able to talk about those things gives an expansive view, and a great overall view of the military, and therefore a great overall view of what it means to write mill sci-fi and have it be legit in terms of what the dedicated readers of the genre are looking for. Because a lot of people that write mill sci-fi, I don't want to throw him under the bus because he's a super nice guy, but he focused a lot on the flashy, the bang, and all of that, and got all of the character work wrong. And it sold really well because he was, again, really good at marketing, but the character work and the intricacies of like military life and all of that completely got wrong.
Who's that?
I I'll
Doesn't want to
I'll
say.
I'll share his name
I
in
thought I
the
missed it.
deal.
Never mind.
I don't want to say again,
Yeah,
he's
no,
a
no, you're
super
fine.
nice guy.
I've
and
learned since then, Josh. I'm trying to get better as a writer. So
right.
I
Yeah.
appreciate your criticism.
Do better, James.
Yeah, I'm working. I'm working.
If I could give an example of somebody who is successful who will not be affected by me uh, mentioning their name, Marco Cluse is incredibly successful,
Yeah.
and a lot of people love his books. I just watched a video by Burn Enough about terms of enlistment.
It was a great book.
When I
really enjoyed
read and it's very entertaining books. I've read like 6 of them, but the military details, they're not that great. They're not that accurate. They don't give me the verisimilitude of being actually back in the military. And that I don't when I read them, I don't think, oh yeah, it was just like that when I was in. No, it wasn't like that. It's more like somebody who watched a lot of military movies.
I was going to say
I think
there's
the
a
first
difference
one was-
between Battlefield Los Angeles and Saving Private Ryan,
Yeah.
I
right?
think the first one was the first one in terms of enlistment was pretty good. I remember thinking like, oh man, this kind of feels basic.
Half of terms of enlistment
Yeah.
was very good.
Yes.
The half right up until the end of the battle in Detroit was very good. And then he wrote another book and grafted it on to that very good book, which had very little relation to that book.
Yeah, I kind of felt like there was a big shift where I was just like, wait, what happened to the infantry story I was reading?
The pacing in that story just changed totally. after that battle in Detroit, and we go from Black Hawk Down to what the heck is happening? Why is he in space? How did he get from being in huge trouble in after this
Right.
battle, being a sacrificial lamb, to I have everything I ever asked for, and I'm with my girlfriend? What? And now there's aliens. They're 40-foot tall aliens. Where did they come from?
What are
It's
they?
like
The dinosaur aliens or something? I can't remember
they
exactly.
called them this.
Sauropods?
They're
No.
Slenders or Lankies.
Yeah.
Lankies. That was it.
Lankies.
Lankies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't read
Yeah.
after that because
Which would
it lost me.
There's nothing wrong with that story, but
Right.
you've got to give some indication that you're going to be telling that story.
Right.
I mean, because it went from like grimy, dirty, very realistic, very visceral military science fiction to space opera in a beat.
Yeah.
And it just like gave me whiplash.
Well,
Yeah.
Should
and
add
I
it to
think
my
too
list?
that's one of I think like that in and of itself is one of the great things about our show, and hopefully one of the most important things that a viewer could get from our show is not only that there are different ways to write mill sci-fi, but we all have our takes on the classics, and we're not typically speaking, we're not one mind on what makes a great mill sci-fi novel as a whole, but we can tell you like these parts, if you put these parts together, you'll be in really good shape. And it's like everybody that loves Dune. I'm the outlier and I don't like Dune. I can't stand the book. I've tried to read it twice and I don't like it.
Josh, you are not the outlier. I have read the book.
Yeah.
And I understand why people love it. I did not. I got in arguments on Facebook because people are criticizing the movie because it changed from the book, and I'm like, "Well, you're making the assumption that I like the book."
Yeah, right.
The book is has ideas. You've read it. It has huge ideas in this vast landscape and world building out the yin yang, but it's not well written.
Right. Well, and like I said, it's a staple, quote unquote, for science fiction, and I don't know if you directly put it into mill sci-fi, even though it kind of fits in that category.
I wouldn't.
But
there's a category in Amazon that I've always thought was stupid as hell, but this Dune fits right into it, and that's metaphysical science fiction.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm actually reading Dune Messiah right now because I saw the movies got greenlit. And it is so slow. And I'm switching between the audio and the book. And another thing that's really funny about it is that he just makes up his own punctuation. Like it's just all over the place, Yeah, right now it's very much just like, Empire drama, which I'm not super excited. I'm like 8 chapters in, and it's a short book, and I'm like, when is it going to pick up? So we'll see.
So
they are compacting Children of Dune and Dune Messiah, I believe, into one thing to make the third movie.
Well, they ruined the second movie, so I'm sure they'll do a great job.
I don't agree with that, but
so
question
for you guys about the podcast: where do you see us going over the next year? Obviously, we're not really super interested in upscaling.
We're going to Utah in a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
I did want to say about upscaling, and I think. Josh, I certainly don't criticize you for your experience with Keystroke because I feel like we are in an environment right now where, I think we've mentioned this, but we came into this podcast with the idea that, this idea does not upscale. We got to do this because we love it. But everywhere you look, YouTube is trying to push viewer counts on you, and how big is this, and how much have you grown that, and YouTube won't even show your thing to other people unless it gets to a certain level of viewership, and I don't know. I appreciate that we have been really focused on that, doing a thing that we like that exists, whether one of the things we kind of talked about was whether it is even successful on YouTube or as a podcast at all, we could take it off YouTube and have it as a download somewhere that continues to exist. And this will be something that at some point a military science fiction fan could read and get something out of, or watch and get something out of.
If I could just address the viewers for 1 second, because we talk mostly to each other in this show. But if I could address those viewers, when Jeff says, hit the subscribe, hit the like button, hit the share button, it's not because we want to make money. We're not going to make any money from this. It's because we put this on in the hope that somebody out there will get something out of it or enjoy
Right.
it
Or
or
come to
be
the genre. Yeah.
inspired to write. And if you do, then hitting the like and subscribe and sharing, that's helping somebody else who might like this, who might get inspired by this if they knew we existed.
Right.
So you doing that doesn't help us. We're not making any money. We're not getting monetized. We want you to help other people who might like it the way you do.
Help us
Help
help
you.
other people.
Jeff, what was the question you wanted to ask? Oh, where we see it going in
Where do you
the
guys see us going over the next year?
honestly, I don't see us going very far. Like and I don't say that as a negative. I think that we're doing what we want to do. And I don't know of a direction that we could take the show that would drastically change what we're doing and how we're doing it. I mean, obviously growing is great. We can reach more people and get more people in the community. That'd be awesome. You know, I think like we've talked about it before, bringing on subject matter experts for things that directly relate to the military and not specifically about the books that they've written. For instance, you know, having Chris Kennedy on to talk about flying planes, or having Casey Azell on talk about flying helicopters, or you know, picking whatever topic it is, finding an expert in that field and really kind of chipping away at their knowledge of that.
Have Chris
um
McCaffrey on to talk about flying dragons.
yeah, exactly. But I think, you know, those subjects are important in the genre, and we could all obviously we can all give you the writer fun fact like overview of whatever it is, but I think having people that are really knowledgeable about those certain things and nailing down that particular element of the genre would be really interesting to do.
I do like how we do our interviews, which is we bring somebody on to talk about a specific subject and not about whatever book they released, or it's not really about them either. We're not bringing people on to learn their history. You know, this is a military sci-fi podcast. We're here to talk about the military science fiction stuff,
Yeah,
not, oh, I released this book last week, or this is how I got into writing.
right.
We
People
probably
have
have to.
places for that.
Well, I think we even said that up front with Jonathan, but people still come in with an expectation. But yeah, that's the thing that we decided we wanted to do. Like it's a conversation, not an interview show. I think this is us internally. We just got to get like we have a ton of people that would I think love to work with us here. We just got to get that planned out, and so that's a thing we need to like commit to do.
You bring Blaine Pardoe in to talk about battle mechs.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I
Well,
would love
that's
to
the
do.
thing. It's about the information, and it's not about the sales.
Right.
So like we're not a platform to boost sales. We're not we're not CNN or Fox or something where you go on the interview show to sell your book. That's not the purpose of that. If you have a book that is good that you come on to talk about a subject or whatever, and we're like, yeah, you really need to get that book. That will probably be something that one of us says at some point during an interview, but that's not the point. And
And we're also, by the way, not here to boost our own sales.
true. However, if you don't
they're-
want me to go write Thrillers, go buy Weaponized when it comes out and that like smash. And if Weaponized is smash, then I'll continue to write Mill Sci-Fi.
There have been podcasts, and I'm not going to mention who it is, but there is a podcast where basically the only way that you get interviewed on that podcast is if you've written a book for this guy.
Mm.
And is basically the whole podcast, although it claims to be trying to help people learn how to write, is buy my books.
Right.
I know. There's a couple people I want to get on to, like the No Nonsense editor, Kristen from X. I think she'd be great to get on and talk about ghostwriting because she's kind of a ghostwriting expert, and that's something people are interested in. And I'm kind of curious to see, like, I know there's a lot of ghostwriting that goes on in Mill Sci-Fi, so that could be neat to have her on. Um, things like that are just get the experts on, have them talk about what they're really knowledgeable about, and oh yeah, they also have this product or book or whatever.
Yeah.
For sure.
But that is certainly not the point.
I
Now,
mean,
if you are going to buy a book, please buy mine, not Rick's.
you can buy all the books. They're not expensive. I mean, I
They're
definitely,
all on Kindle Unlimited, so you don't even have to buy them.
yeah. I mean, we can
First of
exploit the
all, no,
show.
because I every time I go to Dragon Con, I've got my books there and I pitch my books, and then somebody goes, "What's Drop Trooper?" And I'm like, "No, I wasn't talking about Drop Trooper. I was talking about my book. Buy mine."
And we probably need to exploit the show to meet more people we want to meet. Like that's just our selfish thing we should do. Um, that always felt like Keystroke was your great excuse just to like, I want to talk to that person. I
For
should get them on the
sure.
show, you know?
Yeah.
So we should probably do more of that.
Well, that was one of the things that we really talked about at the beginning was uh we didn't do keystroke because we were experts. We did keystroke because we wanted to learn from the experts.
Mhm.
And we knew that if we were learning something, somebody else was too. And that's the whole reason, like we would have topics that we'd have no idea what we were talking about, and we would just like have a round table during the show, like how do we figure this out, what's the best way to do that. And we'd have people that knew how to like newsletters and all that stuff that really nailed the craft. But yeah, I love having people on the show that are more knowledgeable than I am, because learning for me is integral to writing. If you're not learning something new, or you're not learning how to do something better, you're not growing as a writer. And I really take that to heart and try to do and put myself in a position where I never consider myself an expert on anything. I'm always learning something new. And, whether I know how to do, I can do, I believe I do character dialogue really well. But there's a lot of things that I am still learning how to do better, and that I continue to, even after doing it for, I don't know how many years now. But I think also that's one thing that I
Isn't
like
it
about
8 years or 9?
17 was when I
So 8
first
years.
published, so 8 years, yeah. Um, but that's one of the things I like about us is we're not rookies by any means, but we're definitely not we don't consider ourselves at the top of our game, and there's always things that we can do. Whether Rick has written 200 books, or I've written 8 or 3 or whatever it is. Um, we know
Not
what we're
me.
talking.
I'm in my prime.
Yeah, we know what we're talking about in
There's
terms
nowhere
of
to go
just
but up.
general, but yeah, there's always things that we can learn and things that we can do better. And I think coming to the show with that mindset is really impactful, especially for people who are just starting out, who are writing their first book, or have already published their first book and are trying to figure out how to do better in the second one. Approaching a podcast show like this from that angle, I think, is really important, and I think we do that very well.
Yeah, we aspire to.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm just
Basically, I
thinking
mean,
about,
if you like, that's the thing about podcasts. People watch a podcast or listen to a podcast because they like the format, they like what the hosts discuss. So that's why I don't like podcasts that all of a sudden say, "Oh, well, we don't want to discuss that anymore. We want to change our format and talk about different things." Well, then screw you, all the people who wanted to listen to that and started listening
yeah,
faithfully to it for years, because now you don't have that podcast anymore. We want to talk about the stuff that we enjoy talking about.
yeah.
So we don't want to change. We want to grow.
and we're not terribly organized, which I certainly hope is
No.
part of the charm. Like I don't like an
Don't
overly
tell
scripted.
people that.
I know. Well, I
You
don't like
don't
a
admit
scripted
to it,
show.
James.
We'll cut that
Josh
out.
has that big on-air sign. I mean, that looks organized.
I
That's
know.
true.
I know. Well, I think that's part of the charm. Like I just want sort of a, we're having a conversation. We don't drag it out. There are podcasts where you're just like listening to people hem and haw for 3 hours. Like I don't enjoy that. But I feel like we come in with a point, we do our best to talk about it, and then we're out. Um, so that's a thing I want to keep doing. And I don't know how to like maybe control expectations on that a little more. But that's what I like to do.
What we're
Putting
doing now, we're setting the expectations.
Yeah,
Expect more of this, guys.
I know.
We
But I
should
mean, we
have a
love to
show
hear.
where we're just hemming and hawing the whole time.
I
Like,
know.
what are we talking?
Hem, hem,
Yeah,
hem. Ha, ha, ha.
yeah.
Well,
I sure like. I
I
like
th-
this beer.
I wish I would have thought about this before we did this episode. But at one point, maybe we should have like a special live episode and have the ability for the community to come and
Ask
kind of do
questions.
kind of do like an AMA, but just have like a, hey, let's have a community show and not necessarily bring them on like video, but have them in the chat, like interacting with us and maybe we can do that.
We
Maybe
record off Discord. I think we can. I'm sure there's a way to do that.
well,
Yeah.
we can record on StreamYard and we can stream it, but have it be like not a live stream or even just do the live stream. And uh like just have, people in the on YouTube. There's a way. I'd have to look and see, but
Yeah, let's figure that
we can
out.
do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe we could do that,
We're
every
techie and stuff. We
month
can
or
do that.
so, and just get a feel for the audio because that's one of the things I really loved about Keystroke is always doing it live, and you always have like. Rick in the chat getting the Keystroke Medium golf clap of approval because he was always first in the chat, and it's different from interacting on Discord. You get a feel for not really, but you get a feel for your audience and that kind of thing. So maybe doing a live show every once in a while would be fun to do. Maybe
Yeah, it would be fun. I'd
that's
like
my
that.
thing for going forward. Let's do some live shows in the next year and have the community be involved in that.
We're absolutely going to maintain our topic, but yeah, I don't mind doing a format of live show. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I know that there's people who would be interested in commenting.
I'm gonna log in with my secondary YouTube account.
Yeah.
Hey, we welcome all comments.
Well, not all comments.
No, most comments.
You can comment whatever you want. That doesn't mean we'll listen.
Right.
All publicity is good publicity. That's the thing,
Break it
right?
from my memory.
Yeah.
Right.
I do like. I tell you what. I was surprised the other day when I logged into our YouTube channel and saw that there were like 24 unanswered comments. So I got to go through and.
Oh, I need to remember to go and check that out. It's like me
Yeah,
remembering to
I-
hop
I
in
do too.
Discord.
Yeah, there's some good ones in there, and a lot of people from our Discord will comment on our videos, but other random people comment on our videos. Someone tried to sell us car insurance.
I mean, I definitely think that's a thing we can do more of going forward is like the YouTube community piece of it that we can, really get into the comments and other things with that we can spend some time on. So that'd be a
Let
good
us
thing to look forward to.
let us know in our Discord, like, what do you want for the next year? Like,
Yeah.
we're doing this for our community as much as we're doing it for us. And so within reason, like, maybe we can get Rick to grow out a really, really, really long beard and do a dance in a tutu at some point. Like, that would be cool for me. I'd pay to see that.
Yeah.
No one said I was
You'll have to
getting
pay
paid.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
This could be a way to get paid and they'll buy you a tutu.
Exactly. But I mean, really, most importantly, after a year doing this, thank you to all the viewers
Yeah,
that have
thank you.
come and watched, commented, joined our Discord, shared the podcast around. We really, really appreciate it. And again, like
189 subscribers.
not like Rick said, we're not doing this to get rich. We're doing this to learn and grow and to help others learn and grow. And so the interaction and the I hate to say commitment from you guys as viewers is really amazing. And so thank you for a year of support and interaction and engagement and growing our community because that's really the most important thing. And so thank you to everybody that's either
thank
watching or listening, or if you're on the Discord or not, or you're on the Facebook or not, doesn't matter. But we really, really do appreciate that reinforcement, that encouragement that you guys give. It's really important.
And if you don't like and share and grow our show, I'm going to shave my beard.
Ooh,
Ooh.
I'm gonna create 9 accounts right now and just start liking and
It's like threatening to
subscribing.
shoot the puppy, man. You can't do that.
Yeah,
We
you
are
can't
pretty close
kick
to
the
200
dog.
subscribers, so maybe if we get to 200 subscribers, we can do that live show.
Ooh, hey, good
Yeah,
call.
that sounds good.
I like that.
So
I like
yeah,
that.
share it. We just need 11, 12 more people to subscribe, and we'll have 200. We'll do a live show.
And
Even
at 1 million subscribers, we'll take a random guest and fly them to each of our homes and let them spend the day with us.
If we get 1 million subscribers, we will do that.
We will.
Okay.
Hang out with me and my chickens.
You get to play with Buddy.
Yep.
All right, folks.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us on yet another hour-long talk about military sci-fi. In this case, the future of our podcast and the past. Thank you for joining us. And as like Josh and Rick said, this is nothing if it's not for the fans. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Well, I guess we'll see you all later.